Is this going to be it? Infrastructure? I mean, there had been a lot of talk about entitlement reform. Could infrastructure be the next big policy move?
Well, if there's one thing that Democrats do, it's spend money. So I don't think it'll be trouble getting Democrats on board. I think the real worry is actually going to be the conservatives in the House and the Senate, because you're also looking at about a $100 billion supplemental that will be used for hurricane relief. The president also wants to build a wall. There are a lot in Congress that want to build a wall. Now, that's only about $1.8 billion. But still, something's got to give, because if you're going to spend hundreds of billions of dollars in infrastructure, where are you going to get that money? The House and the Senate passed a $47 trillion 10-year budget, but there wasn't any cuts to spending. So conservatives actually will be on the hot seat probably more than the Democrats.
Well, you know, as you pointed out, rightly so, Democrats love to spend money, typically. So they should love this. I mean, this is something that Chuck Schumer has been asking for years. If there's anywhere where these folks can meet in the middle in Washington, D.C., Representative, you would think it would be infrastructure.
Yes, and it's going to come up quickly. January 19th is when the continuing resolution runs out. But again, the question is, if you're also going to go out and spend, like I said, close to $100 billion rebuilding Texas, Florida, Louisiana, and other parts that were hit by the hurricane, then how are you going to actually fund this? Where are you going to cut? Because there aren't many places that Congress has identified. I think it's the one story coming out of 2017 that really was a mystery to me. It was just, I couldn't believe that Republicans sort of gave up the mantle of fiscal discipline. I don't think you have to justify allowing the American people to keep their own money in their own wallets, but if you don't cut spending, then you're still going to rack up amazing deficits, and I don't see how you get from here to there.
All right, well, you know, some people look at the tax cut as a form of spending. Now, the hope is it grows our economy enough, and I think it will contribute to growth for sure. The question is, how much growth? Is it enough growth, Representative, to actually make up for what it's going to cost? And, you know, as you look towards an infrastructure program, what that's going to cost?
Well, look, if you went back to when President Trump was inaugurated, and you said that we were going to be north of a 3% growth rate, if you thought the stock market was going to be where it's at, everybody would have laughed. Everybody would have said, no, President Trump's not going to be able to get anything done, get anything passed. Now, President Trump has had an advantage so far in being able to use the tool of reconciliation, where he only has to get 50 people in the Senate to actually vote in favor of a tax package. But that reconciliation tool is gone. Now you have to go and get 60 votes, and you're right, that's where you've got to go find those 8 Democrats in order to come along with your overall spending plan. And they're going to push on immigration. They're going to push on other things too, not just the infrastructure spending.
Well, Representative, if they do not move forward on immigration, I'm talking about the Democrats right now, isn't that going to haunt them politically come 2018? So if you're approaching this from just a sheer political perspective, if you're Donald Trump and if you're the Republicans, don't you want infrastructure to be next? Because I'll tell you, if Democrats vote against that, they're seemingly voting against one of the basic things that they have been arguing for years.
Yeah, again, I think they can get them on infrastructure. Where do you find the money? I don't know, but it's going to be really difficult for the Democrats. At this point, they've been pretty much a stiff arm and a blockade, saying they're going to be no on anything that Donald Trump suggests. I mean, Democrats used to support the idea that they were going to reduce the corporate income tax, but then suddenly, because now it's Donald Trump, they were opposed to it. So I think infrastructure is good common ground. Republicans haven't been bashful in spending money. Democrats like to spend money. The question is, where are you going to get all that money after you're spending all the money on the supplemental for the hurricane relief?
Entitlement reform, is that, I mean, you know, when you look at the money we spend, for example, on things like Medicaid, I mean, these are the opportunities that we could take to start cutting, and how much might it save us?
Well, it will save a lot if you can get rid of the waste, fraud, and abuse, but every administration talks about it and doesn't do much about it. I do think more block grants to the states, letting the governors and the state legislators be in control, would be much more efficient. It would actually save a lot of money. But if you listen to Mick Mulvaney, the head of the Office of Management and Budget, he presents to the president almost on a monthly basis, hey, look, this is where the real money is. It's almost 3/4 of the spending of the $4+ trillion that we spend in this government. But thus far, the president has not wanted to tackle Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security. They did make good progress on Obamacare, getting rid of the individual mandate, but yeah.
This is why, you know, once you give something, this is why entitlement reform is so difficult. I mean, once you give it, it's very hard representative to take it back. And no politician, I would imagine, wants to be in that position where they look like they're denying someone something that they had previously gotten. And he has said over and over again that he wouldn't go near Social Security and that Social Security would be safe for folks. So that would be challenging, certainly, for the president and for the Republicans, I imagine, if they tried to take some of those things away. Let me ask you this, Representative. Do you think the Democrats don't actually want the economy to do well?
You know, allowing the American people to keep their own money in their own pockets. I mean, Nancy Pelosi was calling that Armageddon. Chuck Schumer, it was just, they'll rue the day. I mean, unanimously, Democrats said we don't want the American people to keep more of their own money in their own wallets. So I don't know what it is they think they're going to run on, and if you look at where we're going to be 6, 8, 12 months from now when we actually have elections, I think the Democrats are overplaying their hand, because anything and everything the Republicans do is somehow wrong. I don't see them coming to the table with alternatives or tweaks or saying, hey, here's what we'd like to suggest to make the bill better. And I think that's reflecting through to the American people.
Well, and people don't like that, right? Americans don't like that. This is why they're so frustrated with Washington, because no one was getting anything done. I mean, we saw 8 years of that gridlock. That's why the Federal Reserve had to be so aggressive. There was no economic policy that was meaningful coming out of Washington. Now you're starting to see that. And tax reform, by most accounts, is going to be quite stimulative to our economy. So I just question whether, you've got Democrats there who are sort of looking at this rather begrudgingly, wishing that the market wasn't doing this well, wishing that the unemployment numbers were actually worse, wishing that wages would not increase, because politically speaking, if the Republicans have a win with this, it makes it very difficult in 18.
When people are feeling good with their own pocketbooks, they've got a job, they're getting a promotion, and you look at some of the indicators about home ownership and the way people are feeling confident in the economy, every one of those indicators under President Trump is going up in a positive direction. And that's just the reality. And people vote locally. They vote on how they're feeling, how their company's doing, whether their friends are getting jobs. And I'm just telling you, President Trump, I think, exceeded all expectations in 2017. He's buoyed going into 2018. But January 19th, mark that date, Trish, because funding the government is going to be a battle royale, and it's coming up before we know it.
I know, indeed, indeed. But I agree with you. I think, the economy really, when it comes down to it, is the #1 issue. Besides people's physical security, they want to be financially safe, and they want to be physically safe.
That's right.
So we'll see how it goes. Thank you so much. Jason Chaffetz, so good to see you. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.